I turn to the ranking member for his 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Hayes, recently the multi-service crypto platform DeFi estimated that almost $2 billion in crypto assets on DeFi platforms were lost back in 2023 due to hacks, theft, or exploits based on, they had 448 documented cases, more than a hack per day. And only about 10% of these losses were recovered for investors, according to the report. The nearly $2 billion in DeFi attacks losses in 2023 was dwarfed by the $47 billion that was lost in 2022. So if you look at the traditional finance system, you know, the Bank Secrecy Act, our money laundering protocols, all resulted because we had crises in the industry and we needed to take steps. You know, I mean, you can even look at the collapse of the banking industry during the Depression. We lost over 1,000 banks went down, so we had to come in with regulation to say, okay, we're going to have deposit insurance. We created the FDIC. What about this argument that we don't need any intermediaries and all this theft and fraud continues to occur? What would bad actors benefit from if per se, we don't employ know your customer or anti-money laundering protocols connected to DeFi?
Thank you for the question, Congressman. I think you're right to be concerned. That's a large volume of loss that's affecting consumers who are already engaging in these practices, whether or not we truly understand what DeFi is or whether decentralization has been achieved. And I think the problem goes deeper, and I want to stress there is a focus on the role in which cybersecurity and the technology of these platforms facilitates some of these problems, but arguably there's almost always a human component behind it, and the problems that arise have parallels in our current financial system and the economics of finance, which we already have addressed or at least are addressing with existing regulatory structures today. So for example, many hacks are inside jobs. They're set up by the actual people involved. Rug pulls are ubiquitous, and rug pulls involve insiders that are dictating how code is written and promoting tokens or products that draw in investors with little knowledge of those products. More disclosure, more information, such as the things found in securities regulation, would help those investors have a better understanding of who's behind the products, how they're operating them, what they're offering, what their background is. But that doesn't exist in this space today. White papers are not standardized. People have to read code. It's a real problem. Oracle attacks are manipulation of real-world price data. That's something that goes through DeFi interfaces, but someone designs that interface and determines how the oracle goes in there. And so with money laundering, I think the problem is there's a conundrum. If you allow DeFi to operate without the same consistent KYC controls, money launderers look for gaps in the broader financial system. They're looking for weaknesses. They're looking for lowest common denominator spots that they can exploit. This committee knows full well that some of the anti-money laundering measures that were passed in early 2000s for different financial professionals were just recently, after 20 years, implemented by Treasury because of massive resistance to the industry. That was a massive gap in that framework. So if we allow that gap to continue in DeFi, we're essentially setting a table for money launderers to continue to exploit those gaps in ways that harm lots of people. So there are ways to look at how we can tweak those things, but the bottom line is if those rules aren't consistent, you're going to damage the entire approach to combating illicit finance, and that's going to harm a lot of people.
There's much said about the decentralization in DeFi. Is that actually the case? I mean, we've got studies here that say there's a narrow group of people that actually control this, and it doesn't have the full benefits of decentralization. Is that what you've found?
The research we've seen suggests that, and much of that is industry research or outside observers. I think it raises a question, if decentralization can't be defined and can't be realized, then it can't provide the benefits it offers. So I think before we rush into allowing these actors to sort of have full access to the financial system, particularly if it becomes interconnected with the broader financial system, which is starting to happen, I think we should take a precautionary approach, and that includes regulators reining in some of this activity before it can cause more amplified harm.